Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Namaskaram and welcome to the 6th episode of Śiva-Bodha-Mālikā. In the series of the heroic acts of Shiva, today we shall look at him as Kāla-samhāra-mūrti or Mrityunjaya-mūrti. Mrityum Jayati, Saha Mrityunjayaha, the one who won over Mrityu. He's also known as Kāla-samhāra-mūrti, the one who destroys Kala. Now, what is the meaning of Kala? Kala has multiple meanings. Very commonly, we refer to Kala as time. Kala is also referred to for Yama or the god of death. These are used interchangeably because life as we know is basically an interval of time between birth and death. So the death actually puts an end to this time. It gives a definitive time of existence, of this physical existence or this mortal existence. So the kalam comes to an end with death. The kalam, the physical or mortal existence, comes to an end with the physical death. And that is why Yama or the god of death is also known as Kalan. That is another term used for Yama. If you look at the Tevaram hymns, which we shall see in a few minutes' time, the very common term used for Yama is Kala, Kalan, or Mrityu in general. So Shiva is one who has got victory over death. What does this mean? It means multiple things. First is, how can you win over death? When you realize the deathless. When you realize the timeless. How can you win over time? When you get associated with something that is timeless. How can you win over death? When you get associated with something that is deathless. And that is the Atman, the Brahman. So this itself alludes to Shiva or Parameshwara as the Brahmajnani, as a supreme guru who is established in the self, established in that avyaya, the changeless supreme Brahman. That is why Shiva is referred to as got victory over death. And when you look at it in the Puranas and the further stories, it gets translated as one who worships Shiva also is able to transcend death, is also able to get victory over death. Because Parameshwara leads the devotee towards that Brahmajnana. What we must commonly understand by victory over death doesn't mean that the physical body will remain forever. A body that has come into existence, a physical body that comes into existence must die. So here when you say victory over death, we are not meaning that your physical body will remain eternal. That is impossible. But as I mentioned in the beginning, you get associated with something that is deathless. So you know that your true nature is something that can never die. Physical body is not the true nature. Your true nature is that of the Atman, and the Atman never dies. This is exactly what Bhagavan says in the Gita as well. So this is the inner meaning of representing Shiva as Kāla-samhāra-mūrti or Mrityunjaya. In the Rudram, we saw in the earlier episodes as well, Bhavasya Hetyai, the one who helps us cross this Bhava Sagara, this Samsara Sagara, and leads us to immortality. That is why the famous Mrityunjaya mantra, which we refer to, Trambagam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva bandhanat mrityormukshiyamamritaat. Mrityoho mukshiya. Liberate me from mrityu, liberate me from death. Ma amritat, not from immortality. That means lead me to immortality. Just like the urvaru, just like the cucumber easily separates out from the plant and comes out very easily. Similarly, let me get liberated from this death. What is death? This samsara itself is death. This physical body itself is death. All these are synonyms of death. So liberate me from all these things that are dying by nature. By naturally, they are inherent characteristics of them is to get destroyed. I don't want to get associated with anything that gets destroyed. I want to get associated with that which is indestructible. That is Amrita. That is immortality. That is why this is called as the Mrityunjaya mantra. Because it gives this essence, this message of getting associated with the immortal, indestructible, deathless entity. Now, coming to the Puranic story, the very popular story where Shiva took the form of Kāla-samhāra-mūrti is that of Markandeya Maharshi. Mrikandu and Marudvati, they were, Mrikandu was a great sage and Marudvati was his consort, his wife. They were issueless. They didn't have a child for a very, very long time and they prayed to Parameshwara for a child. So Parameshwara blesses them and gives them two options. He says that either you can have a son who is brilliant, who is devoted, who knows all the shastras and who will take great care of you, who will be an asset to the entire universe, but he will live only for 16 years. Or you could have a son who is foolish, who just loiters around, who is of no great use to the universe, but he will live a very, very long life. So the choice that the parents make is of wisdom over just number of years. That itself proves. So they say that we would prefer the first option of having a son, even if he is 16 years old. If he lives only for 16 years, still, if he is going to prove of great asset and he's going to be a wise person and devoted person and he's going to be an asset to the universe, we would prefer him. This is the choice that we need to make every time in life. What is the preference? In technical terms, you call it Shreyas versus Preyas. Shreyas is something that is beneficial to us, something that will lead us towards the right path. Preyas is something that seems nice from the outside, is very pleasurable. It gives us all the joy when you first experience it, but it takes you away from the path of inherent goodness. So we must always make this choice between Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyas may not be always nice on the surface. It is just like the medicines that are bitter, but they will do good to you. So they are beneficial, they are Shreyas. But Preyas is all the other things which you like to have, the delicacies you want to eat. But inherently there might be certain poisonous stuff which will deteriorate your health over a period of time. So they choose the path of Shreyas and they say, we would like the first option. So the Lord blesses them, and so is born Markandeya, the son of Mrikandu, hence he is named as Markandeya. He grows to be a great scholar, a great devotee, a great Mahatma. As he nears the age of 16, he hears his mother weeping and he asks the reason and she tells this whole story. So he says, why do you worry? I'll go to Parameshwara and I'll worship Parameshwara and I will ask for an extension of my life. And he goes and worships, he creates a lingam on the seashore and goes and begins to worship Parameshwara. He sings and dances all night around the lingam. He worships the lingam with different flowers. And when the appointed time comes, Yama comes in his buffalo, in his Mahisha, with the Yama Pasha. It is called as Yama Pasha or the noose. These are all very interesting imageries that are presented in our Puranas. Why is it a Pasha and why not something else? We could question that. See, pasha or the noose is what? Something that puts around your neck. You will not know when it is being put. It very mildly it is put, and then the drag begins. The drag begins, so it is not an immediate cutoff, right? When you're dragging, it is slowly getting spread out. It's slowly getting cut off. It doesn't happen as just like a knife or a sword where you just cut and it becomes two parts. No, the noose just keeps on pulling. So it's a slow process that indicates the way life goes out of the prana, goes out of our body. This is indicative of that process. The prana doesn't just go out of the body because there are a lot of vasanas inherent in us. So it wants to remain. The prana wants to stick to this body because there are so many unfulfilled desires, so many vasanas still there. So you don't want to leave this body because you're attached to your family, your possessions, everything. So all that is pulling you towards this side for you to remain. But your appointed time has come and the soul has to leave the body. So the Yamapasha is pulling you to the other side. So it's a slow process, slow and painful process. The entire moving of the soul out of the body. That is why Yama is given the ayudha of a pasha. That is why it is Yama pasha. So Yama comes with his Yama pasha, and Markandeya is immersed in Shiva-dhyana. He throws the noose around Markandeya's neck, but because Markandeya is sitting so close to the Shivalinga and in a way he is sitting merged with the Shivalinga, he is literally shown embracing the Shivalinga. Right? So Markandeya, the 16-year-old kid, is embracing the Shivalinga and emerge in Shiva-dhyana. And Yama cannot put the Yama Pasha only on Markandeya. Naturally, automatically the noose or the Pasha also falls around the Shivalinga. So he has put the Pasha around Parameshwara himself. The moment that happens, Parameshwara emerges from the Linga, and with his Trishula, he pierces the heart of Yama. So this form of Parameshwara, where he is emerging out of the Linga with the Trishula and he is piercing the heart of Kala himself, that is the Kāla-samhāra-mūrti, Kāla-samhāra-mūrti. It is not about killing Yama, it is about teaching a lesson to Yama, because in most of the stories, because you cannot kill Yama. Yama has got a function to perform. He is a deva who is performing the function of taking all the souls who have finished their lifespan on the earth. So you cannot kill the deva, but he has to be taught a lesson. So he brings him under control. Yama is niyamita. He is brought under control by Parameshwara. So this is referred to as Kāla-samhāra-mūrti or Kāla-antaka-mūrti. He puts an end to Kala at that point of time because he stopped the decision of Yama. And then, of course, he grants a long life. He says, Markandeya, you will live forever. That is why one of the Chiranjeevis, Markandeya is considered to be one of the Chiranjeevis who always lives forever. May not be in a Sthula Sharira, but in the Linga Sharira and in the various subtle forms, Markandeya continues to live even till today. And Yama, he then also blesses Yama, because Yama was just performing his duty, but he says, be aware of those devotees or be aware of those sadhakas who are on the path of spiritual development. They have given up the mortal frame. So they no more come under Yama Pasha. So your Pasha can do nothing. To those people who are on the path of spirituality, on the path of Atma Vidya and Brahmajnana, they have anyway denounced their Sharira. Your Yama Pasha can only take the Sharira. So they are detached anyway from the Sharira. And he blesses Yama. So it is Yama, Nigraha, Anugraha. Both of that happens, one after the other. So it is not just about Kāla-samhāra. He also blesses Yama and tells him that his Pasha can do nothing to those people who are on the path of spirituality. So this is Yama, Nigraha, Anugraha, Mūrti. So this is the story behind Shiva as Kāla-samhāra-mūrti or Kāla-antaka-mūrti. There are various representations of Shiva, as you can see on the screen, with Shiva pressing his foot on Yama, pressing the trident or the Trishula, the heart of Yama, dancing on top of Yama with Yama at his feet. These are all the various representations, some in sculpture, some in sort of bronze images, some in the form of beautiful paintings. The bottom rightmost is that you see in Brihadishvara temple. So many of these paintings are also drawn in various Shiva temples that you can observe.